What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO, World Boxing Organization welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence "Bud" Crawford. 38 wins, no loss, no draw, 29 big wins by way of knockout. He is 34 years of age, 5'8", with a 74-inch arm reach. He will be 35 years of age. He's already 35 years of age, as a matter of fact. Terence Crawford turned 35 September 28th. So Terence Crawford is now 35 years of age, okay? He responds back to 3-time junior middleweight world champion, who is currently the undisputed junior middleweight world champion, who should be, and in my book is widely considered to be top 5 pound-for-pound best fighters in the world, in Jermell Charlo, superstar boxer, 35 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 19 wins by way of knockout, 32 years of age, 6 feet tall, with a 73-inch arm reach. Jermell Charlo, out of the blue, recently just commented and made a statement towards Terence "Bud" Crawford via his social media, calling out Terence Crawford and saying that Terence Crawford needs to move up to junior middleweight and challenge the likes of a former foe of his in Erickson the Hammer Lubin, okay? Jermell Charlo, he fought against Erickson Lubin, and he knocked Erickson Lubin out in the first round of their fight. Now, Erickson Lubin, was slighted as, the next best, one of the next big things at junior middleweight, okay? And early in his career, he challenged Jermell Charlo. Jermell Charlo was saying that it was too early. This was October of 2017. They actually fought, and he knocked out Lubin in the first round. But with that said, Jermell Charlo was telling the world Erickson Lubin wasn't ready at that time when he was going into the fight with Jermell Charlo, okay? Erickson Lubin is now 24 wins, 2 losses, no draw, 17 wins by way of knockout. Twice in his career he knocked out. He's only 26 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 75-inch arm reach. Extremely long arms. He's a southpaw with tons and tons of power, okay? So at that time, Erickson Lubin, he was only 18 wins, no losses, no draws, okay? So he, Jermell Charlo, he was stating that Erickson Lubin, he's not ready, for the likes of myself. But, he was seen as the next best thing. He was knocking people out, the hammer. He was exciting, southpaw, skilled boxer. And they made the fight, and he got knocked out in the first round, okay? So most recently, obviously, Terence Crawford is at odds with Jermell Charlo's close friend and stablemate and undefeated unified 3-belt welterweight world champion superstar boxer who holds the WBC, WBA, IBF welterweight world titles. He's a superstar. He's widely considered top 2, if not the #1, definitely top 5 pound-for-pound best fighters in the world. And Errol, the true Spence Jr., who is 28 wins, no loss and no draw, 22 wins by way of knockout. He is 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. They make for the biggest fight. That's Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. They make for the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, and it's for all the marbles. It's for undisputed. Now, Terence Crawford is already undisputed at junior welterweight. So Terence Crawford, he recently made a statement, and he stated that, he's going to look to be a 3-division undisputed world champion. And after he beats Errol Spence Jr., then he's going to go on to beat Errol Spence's pom-pom cheerleader in Jermell Charlo. And he stated that, that's a fight. Those are the 2 fights that are on his hit list. That's what Terence Crawford stated. So Jermell Charlo, he responded at that time, and he said that, Terence Crawford needs to focus on his division, the welterweight division, stop looking ahead, and he got Errol Spence problems. Well, now, out of the blue, yesterday, Jermell Charlo, he took to social media, and maybe somebody added Jermell Charlo, but Jermell Charlo, he took to social media, and he had this to say. He said, I KO better opposition than he's done, right? Let's compare. He says, who dude knocked out? So he's saying that he knocked out better opposition than Terence Crawford has knocked out. He says, and then he quotes, he says, who has he fought, right? Then he says, who has he knocked out, right? Then he comes back and he says, Lubin will KO Terence Crawford, move up to 154, we'll see, right? So he's challenging him, right? Now, it seems like the Errol Spence fight, one day you get an announcement that Errol Spence and Terence Crawford is going to fight November 19th. Then the next day, it seems like the fight is off. Then the next day, it seems like the fight is back on. And the next day, the fight is off, right? And we never know what's coming of Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. Again, it's the biggest fight in boxing. Terence Crawford has let it be known that he's definitely moving up to 54 after he fights and beats Errol Spence and becomes undisputed in 2 separate weight classes. Then he wants to be undisputed in the 3rd separate weight class, and Jermell Charlo's on the hit list, okay? So to which Terence Crawford, he just responded and he stated that Jermell Charlo time is going to come. That's it, right? So according to his team, Terence Crawford just responded, Jermell Charlo's time is going to come. Right? So obviously Terence Crawford is focused on Errol Spence right now and trying to secure this fight and making that fight happen with Errol Spence for the biggest fight in boxing, okay? And we have Jermell Charlo, obviously, looks like he's going to fight Tszyu, right? I don't know why Jermell Charlo is still on the shelf from his fight against his undisputed showdown against Brian Castano, in which he knocked him out in the 10th round. Why is Jermell Charlo not active? I have no idea, okay? That was an entertaining fight. It was an impressive victory. That fight took place in May of this year, right? And they're talking about him fighting Tszyu in January, okay? Which I don't understand. They announced that he was fighting Tszyu in January. They announced this in the summertime. So I never understand how come it's so far away for Jermell Charlo to fight Tszyu, okay? But nonetheless, it looks like Jermell Charlo will be back in action in January. Tszyu is the son of legend Costa Tszyu. Tszyu is the mandatory challenger for Jermell Charlo. Tszyu was in attendance, when Jermell Charlo recently beat Brian Castano. Tszyu actually took step-aside money, to allow Castano and Jermell Charlo have their rematch of their first fight that ended in a draw. Okay, so with that said, Tszyu is 21 wins, no losses, no draw, 15 wins by way of knockout. He's 27 years of age, 5'8.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. He recently, March of this year, he fought against Errol, who's 22 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw at the time. And he won a unanimous decision, but he was dropped in that fight, and there was a lot of gaps and holes in his game that I think he needed to patch up before fighting Jermell Charlo. But nonetheless, they're pushing for the fight, and he's going to fight Jermell Charlo. Looks like it's going to be in January, though, right? And also, when Jermell Charlo compares resumes. Now, Terence Crawford has stopped and knocked out 10 to 11 of his last 11 opponents, okay? So Terence Crawford has made a statement, but Jermell Charlo is saying, look at the level of opposition. Now, I will say this. I do think that, Jermell Charlo has fought tougher opposition. I think that Terence Crawford fought the bigger name opposition, right? So Terence Crawford, he knocked out, from coming to welterweight, okay? Since he made his debut in the welterweight division, June of 2018, he knocked out Jeff Horn. He knocked out Jose Benavidez. He then knocked out, stopped and TKO'd Amir Khan, Igor Kavalauskas in the 9th round, Kell Brook in the 4th round, Sean Porter in the 10th round. Okay, that was just at the welterweight division. But for undisputed, in August of 2017, he had stopped and knocked out Julius Ndongo in the 3rd round. Prior to that, Felix Diaz in the 10th round, John Molina in the 8th round. He went the distance with Victor Postal. Okay, he went unanimous decision. So his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fights. His last 9 fights, he got TKOs and knockouts, right? And then prior to that, the Victor Postal fight that took place in July of 2016. Before that, he knocked out Hank Lundy, Derry Jean, Thomas Delorme, and Raymond Beltran. He went the distance, unanimous decision. So you say since the Raymond Beltran fight, that was November of 2014. So you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 fights. He's only went the distance twice. So he's 12-2, 12 knockouts to 2 decisions in his last 14 fights. Okay, now, again, and he also, no, you got to say the Yuriorkis Gamboa fight. Okay, so since he won the title in 2014, March of 2014 against Ricky Burns, Terence Crawford only went the distance twice. Well, 3 times. The Ricky Burns fight, he went the distance. He went the distance with Beltran, and then he went the distance with Victor Postol, right? Since his fight with and winning the title against Ricky Burns, he went the distance with Ricky Burns in March of 2014 for his first title opportunity. Then he knocked out Gamboa in the next fight. Okay. Then he went the distance with Raymond Beltran. Then he knocked out Thomas Delore, Deary Jean, Hank Lundy. Then he went the distance with Victor Postol. Then he knocked out the rest of his fights, right? So he's knocked out some very, very good opposition, right? Jermell Charlo has fought better opposition, I believe, just tougher, right? You know, in that 54-pound division, right? Brian Castano is a very tough out. He knocked out Brian Castano in the 10th round. Okay, Jason Rosario, he knocked him out in the 8th round. Okay, Tony Harrison knocked him out in the 11th round. And he knocked out Erickson Lubin, Charles Hadley, you know, so he's knocked out some tough opposition, right? So Tony Harrison, I think, is arguably the top 3 best PO boxers in boxing, and he's very big. He stopped him in the rematch, knocked him out. He knocked out, you know, Jason Rosario, Banana Rosario, who was big, strong, and knocking people out. And then he knocked out Brian Castano, right? And he also knocked out Charles Hadley, right, who was very good, and he knocked out Erickson Lubin. So I think Erickson Lubin and Tony Harrison and Brian Castano, I think, you know, better than anybody that Terence Crawford has fought, not named 2-time welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, future retired Hall of Famer in Showtime Sean Porter, in which he got a stoppage in the 10th round. His father, trainer, and manager, Kenny Porter, saw enough and waved the white towel, you know, and he got the stoppage in the 10th round. But Kenny Porter already stated that he, you know, already predetermined that should Sean get in any trouble, he was going to stop the fight. But nonetheless, you got to give Terence Crawford credit for that. Jeff Horn, Jose Benavidez, Amir Khan, Igis Kavalauskas, Kell Brook at that stage of his career, are they better than Tony Harrison, Erickson Lubin, and Brian Castano? No. Yuriorkis Gamboa, big name, tough out. But is he better than those guys? At that weight class? No. But at his weight class, yeah. So I like the Gamboa knocked out, but he was already chinny, right? So nonetheless, it's hard to say, right, who has the better knockouts. It's almost impossible to say unless Terence Crawford fights those level of oppositions. But this is going to be a good fight. Should Errol Spence, Terence Crawford come to fruition, and he beat, you know, Errol Spence, the fight between him and Jermell Charlo beats Tszyu, because I believe that Errol Spence, Terence Crawford fight next. I believe that should they fight next, he's going to immediately move up in weight, okay? And he immediately moves up in weight. Then, you know, Jermell Charlo fights Tszyu. He beats him. Terence Crawford is going to be Jermell Charlo's mandatory for the WBO. The WBO is going to allow him to be pushed to the front to be the mandatory for Jermell Charlo, and that fight can happen. And he beats Errol Spence and becomes an undisputed 2-division champion. Oh, the fight between Terence Crawford and Jermell Charlo is enormous. The storyline. They both trained by 2-time Trainer of the Year, future Hall of Fame trainer, well-renowned trainer, Derrick James. So if Terence Crawford beats Errol Spence and then he moves up and fights and gets an opportunity to fight Jermell Charlo, that's huge. Huge, absolutely huge. So Let's see how it unfolds and plays out. But Terence Crawford doesn't have time. Time is not on his side. He's now 35 years of age. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Terence Crawford says Jermell Charlo time is coming. Jermell Charlo said Terence Crawford ain't knock out and ain't do nothing. Let's see how it unfolds. But first, you got to get past Errol Spence Jr. That's a tough task. Southpaw, big, strong guy. And that's a tough test. If he could pass that test, that's going to give him the experience and the understanding he needs for Jermell Charlo, because Jermell Charlo is bigger and stronger than Errol Spence. So let's see how this plays out. And that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.